Hey, well, it's Gardy Mo's back online. I just wanted to touch very quickly on Reform UK. I have to talk about Nigel Farage's cult yet again. So, last week there was this female podcast host. She brought in Ben Habib in for an interview, and I don't want to mention her name. I don't want to engage in any gossiping or undermining her credibility or anything. But I have to say, I didn't really particularly enjoy that interview. I think she handled herself in that interview very poorly. She was very condescending towards Ben, very patronising. She essentially tried to make everything about herself, and all she did was platform Ben in that interview, just so she could get her justifications across as to why she supports reform. So her justification was that, what reform are doing, we've got Nigel Farage. Everyone knows him. He's the star of the show. Just let him do what he does, and we have to allow them to kind of stay under the radar, not say anything too extravagant, too over the top, in which it could allow the mainstream media to deem Reform UK as, associated with the far right or some kind of radical extremist entity. They have to lay low, stay under the radar for now, and then once they win the election, then Reform can get serious. They can start getting serious on day one of winning the election. They can draft policies, work out strategies, and debate as to exactly how we're going to change this country. But I just think that adopting that approach would end up in catastrophic failure, and it would entail ramifications that it just wouldn't change anything in this country, and it would be a massive letdown. Reform would be a massive letdown if we continue with that approach as to why we're supporting reform. And Ben Habib, he was in total opposition to that kind of approach, and he had this one-liner, and it really stuck out in that interview. What he said was, for those of you supporting reform, what you're doing is, number one, you're getting a liar. You're supporting a liar like Nigel Farage to find his way into Parliament. So that's essentially what you're doing. You're employing this malicious, nefarious tactics to get someone into Parliament. But secondly, most importantly, what he said was, you are suspending reality in the pursuit of hope. Suspending reality in the pursuit of hope. What the reality is that reform is not some party for the people. It's become a sanctuary for failed Tories. A few weeks ago, Reform UK recruited 20 of these defected Tory councillors into their party, just in one fell swoop. Just Nigel Farage just swoops them in and welcomes these failed Tory councillors into his party. It's like they've suddenly had some enlightenment moment. They've seen the errors of their way and error of their ways, and they've embarked on a new journey by joining Reform. I just don't see how some sanctuary for failed Tories will suddenly be the kind of key solution to saving this country. I just don't see any justification in that, and that's why Ben had to deliver that one-liner. You are suspending reality in the pursuit of hope. So I don't blame people who are supporting reform, but what you have to realise is that you can't adopt this approach of thinking that reform is our only one true saviour, our only hope. And what a lot of supporters are doing when they adopt this mentality is that, because of the motive, they're motivated by the simple notion that we have to get rid of Labour. They're so desperate to get rid of Labour. Everyone wants to get rid of this uni-party establishment system so badly that what we envision of Reform UK actually smashing it out of the ballpark and getting all of those changes that we want from a successful government in this country to change everything, to reverse all of the damage that Tony Blair has done. They're envisioning that kind of future outcome playing out in the UK before even the general election has even taken place, and that has settled into their scope of reality. It's like a combination of cognitive dissonance and confirmation bias. It's a very poor mentality to adopt, and I just think this is a trap. I think reform is going to be a massive letdown. You can't deny that there have been a consistent number of red flags that have appeared out of Reform UK. I said it back in November 2024. As soon as they kicked out Ben Habib, as soon as Dickie Tice, he called Tommy Robinson supporters that lot, that's when I knew there was something awfully wrong. And the final straw, the final nail in the coffin, was they kicked out Rupert Lowe. Those kinds of tactics, that kind of nefarious, Machiavellian, lying, deceitful, pernicious way to undermine someone's credibility, to try Zia Yusuf's approach, to try his very best to nail Rupert Lowe down and get him arrested, get him locked behind bars and having the police confiscate his guns. If what it takes to get rid of Labour is to engage in behaviours characterising maliciousness, lying to people, throwing Tommy Robinson under the bus, stabbing people in the back, lying about people, Machiavellianism, deceit, treachery, nefariousness, all of that stuff, I don't want anything to do with that. I'd rather support principled politics. Ideally, politics that values honesty, that values integrity. And I am finding that currently in Advance UK. And if Advance UK is starting to show these same identical red flags, then I will identify them, I will point them out, then we have to highlight them, and we have to make Ben Habib and Advance UK HQ accountable for these red flags, for these problems arising. You know, I'm not some moth to a flame. I'm not some kind of Ben Habib fanboy. The whole Reform UK political party has just become a Nigel Farage, Zia Yusuf show. It's all about the razzmatazz, the magic and the fireworks. Everything runs out of Nigel Farage, and you haven't even heard from a lot of these councillors who've got kicked out of Reform for speaking out on this. Recently, there was one councillor, I think she was in Northumberland. She was commenting on Reform. She got kicked out of the party because she was challenging Nigel Farage's leadership. She thought that the party was run like a dictatorship. Like, she thought that all of these constituencies don't receive adequate support from Reform HQ, that there's no real democratization, there's no real communication between Reform HQ and her constituency, and that's why she's calling them out for it. But you won't hear that. You won't hear them report about it on GB News or Talk TV, because they're controlled opposition. They don't want people to realise, to smell the coffee, and to take notice, and to wake up to the reality that Reform UK are not our solution. They're just not the one true saviour, Nigel Farage, that we hoped he would be. He's in it for the grifting. He's in it for the money. He's in it for his personal, financial, career pursuits. If it already isn't obvious enough, then people need to wake up and realise that this is the reality of Reform UK. But slowly, in time, I think people will start. People like, you know, June Slater and Alex Phillips, hopefully Matt Goodwin as well. I hope they'll actually begin to realise that there's something awfully wrong about Reform. And even Carl Benjamin as well. He made this video saying that Nigel, I'm afraid to say, I have to grit my teeth together and admit Nigel Farage is our only hope. No, this is nonsense. We need principled politics. And that's why I'm behind Advance UK. So get out of your rose-tinted spectacles. Get out of that notion that Reform is our only hope, because they're not. They're just not. They're going to be the same establishment, failed Tory types who they're out there to deceive you. And their actions just don't measure up with their words and their promises. So that's it for now. That's it for this video. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Scotty Most Clock, and I'll see you in the next one.